A pen rested on the divorce agreement. The metal cap gleamed with a cold light, matching the color of the plain ring on my ring finger. Ethan pushed the agreement toward me. His movements were smooth, as if rehearsed many times. Sign it. You can state your conditions. I glanced at the pen. Montblanc, limited edition. It was the one he used to sign billion-dollar contracts. Now it was for signing a divorce agreement. Quite ironic. I didn't move. My gaze shifted from the pen to his face. 3 years had passed, and that face was still stunningly handsome, enough to dazzle anyone. Highbrow bones, straight nose bridge, always carrying a hint of casual detachment when looking at people. Why? I asked. My voice was calm, surprising even myself. He loosened his tie, seeming a bit annoyed. Celia is back. Oh. Celia. His white moonlight. 3 years ago, she went abroad to pursue her dancing dreams, and now she had returned successful and famous. So, as the temporary substitute, it was time for me to step down. 3 years ago, the Lou group was in crisis. Ethan's father was gravely ill, and on his deathbed, he demanded that Ethan marry immediately to stabilize the group's stock price. Celia had gone far overseas and couldn't be contacted. Ethan found me in a bar, where I was shuttling between booths carrying a tray of beers. Vivian, right? He stopped me, his gaze appraising. Short on money? Marry me. 1 year. Divorce after a year, and I'll give you 3 million. I wiped the beer foam splashed on my hand. 5 million. Pay half up front as deposit. No interference in each other's private lives. He raised an eyebrow, seemingly surprised by my directness. But he nodded. Fine. The wedding was simple. We got the certificate, took photos, and hosted a few tables for relatives and friends. Ethan's father passed away peacefully. The Lou Group's stock price rebounded. For these 3 years, we lived under the same roof but led separate lives. He had constant scandals, but I never inquired. I bought groceries, cooked, arranged flowers, and read books every day. He probably thought I was an uneducated housewife. It was fine. Hassle-free. Now, the time was up. The real one was back, and the substitute should leave. I picked up the pen. It felt heavy. I can state conditions? I confirmed once more. He leaned back in the chair, relaxed, as if solving a big problem. House, car, money, whatever you want. As long as it's not excessive. I unscrewed the cap. Lowered my head, paused at the property division section. No need. I'll leave with nothing. He was stunned. What? I said, I'll leave with nothing. I repeated, my voice not loud but clear. I don't want a cent of your money. The pen tip descended, and I neatly signed my name, Vivian, in the Party B signature spot. The handwriting was elegant yet sharp. I pushed the agreement back to him. Along with it, I slipped off the ring from my ring finger and gently placed it on the paper. Wish you and her happiness. After saying that, I stood up. Walked to the 24-inch suitcase already packed in the living room corner. Pulled up the handle. Ethan was still in shock. Where are you going? Moving out. I opened the door without looking back. The agreement is effective now. Isn't it? The door closed gently. The elevator descended. My phone vibrated. I took it out to check. A new message from someone noted as Tina. Sister Vivian, how's your consideration on the collaboration invitation from the Berlin Philharmonic? They're urging again. I replied, declined. No time recently. Another message came, then the 3 tours in Kyoto next month? Push them back too. Okay. Also, the Lou Group sent a project collaboration intent, wanting to introduce our European new energy technology, with a very generous offer. What do you think? I looked at my face in the elevator mirror. barefaced, wearing a simple white t-shirt and jeans. No different from the woman who just signed the divorce agreement. Tell them. I typed back. Technology not for sale. Unless, their CEO comes to negotiate personally. Put away the phone. The elevator reached the first floor. The sunlight outside was glaring. I pulled the suitcase, merged into the crowd. Soon disappeared. Ethan sat for a long time facing the divorce agreement. Leaving with nothing? This was completely beyond his expectations. In his anticipation, Vivian would at least want a house or a substantial breakup fee. She seemed so ordinary, so plain, how would she live without him? He had even prepared to haggle. In the end, she wanted nothing. Signed so decisively, left so neatly. His heart felt inexplicably empty. The phone rang. It was Celia. Ethan, did you sign the agreement? The lawyer said. Signed. He interrupted her, his tone unknowingly irritable. That's great. Let's have dinner tonight to celebrate? I know a newly opened French restaurant. I have a meeting tonight. He rubbed his forehead, another day. Hung up. He picked up the plain ring she left. Very cheap thing, probably 10 yuan each at a night market stall. He bought it casually during the wedding, didn't expect her to wear it for 3 years. The inner circle of the ring seemed engraved with something. He looked carefully against the light. It was 2 tiny letters, W.Y. Vivian. She actually went to engrave it. He scoffed and threw the ring into the depths of the drawer. Unappreciative woman. Leaving with nothing? Putting on a brave front. See how long she can hold out. He picked up the agreement, preparing to call the assistant to handle it. His gaze swept over her signature. Vivian. This handwriting seemed different from his impression. When signing the prenup at marriage, her writing was timid, like a primary school student's. Now this script was lean and strong, with a sharp and upright style. Had she practiced calligraphy? He shook his head, shaking off this pointless doubt. It didn't matter anymore. Pressed the intercom. Jason, come in. I rented a small apartment. 1 bedroom, 1 living room, south-facing, with a small balcony. Simply tidied up and bought some green plants. Life seemed to return to before marriage. Calm, at ease. No need to ponder what dishes to make for him every day. He was picky but ate little. For balanced nutrition, I put in a lot of effort. Now I only needed to feed myself. Much simpler. A week later, I went for an interview. A very small cultural creative company, recruiting an administrative assistant. Salary not high, tasks miscellaneous. The HR looked at my resume, brows furrowed enough to kill a fly. Miss Vivian, your work experience for the past 3 years, is blank? Some family matters. Marriage and childbirth? Sort of. HR pushed up her glasses. Our work here is very intense, requires frequent overtime. Can you adapt? After all, disconnected from society for 3 years. Yes. I said. Expected salary? According to your standard is fine. HR asked a few more questions, finally said, okay. Try it first. Can you come to work tomorrow? Yes. The next day, I arrived on time. The company was indeed small, less than 10 people including the boss. My job ranged from ordering takeout, copying files to answering customer service calls, doing everything. Colleague Zoe was a freshly graduated girl, chatty, loved gossip. During lunch break, she came over. Sister Vivian, did you see the financial news? The Lou Group. I was lowering my head sorting receipts. What happened? Their CEO Ethan is so handsome it's inhumane. But too playboyish, a few days ago photographed attending a gala with that ballet dancer Celia, TSK. She shoved the phone screen in front of me. In the photo, Ethan in suit and leather shoes, side profile cold and stern. Celia holding his arm, in a white dress, smiling brightly. The title was sensational: Lou Group CEO's old love returns, wedding bells suspected soon. I pushed away the phone. Not interested. Aya, take a look. This kind of tycoon gossip is so exciting. Heard he had a hidden marriage wife before, don't know which poor sister, just kicked out like that. I smiled, didn't respond. Phone vibrated. I glanced, it was an encrypted message. From codename Draco. The Abyss Project third simulation test failed. G-Country team requests technical support. Intervene? I quickly replied, send me the data. Online meeting at 8 tonight. Received. Closed the phone. I continued sorting receipts. Zoe was still chattering. So yeah, women still have to rely on themselves. Rely on men, sooner or later get dumped. Sister Vivian, right? I nodded. Well said. At off-work time, the boss called me. Vivian, deliver these materials to Lou Group headquarters, 36th floor project department. They need them urgently. I took the file bag. Now? Yes. Take a taxi, company reimburses. Must personally hand to Project Director Martin. Okay. An hour later, I stood in the Lou Group headquarters lobby. The front desk checked the appointment list. Vivian? No appointment record. It's files Martin urgently needs. Then wait, I'll ask. While the front desk called, I stood there, boredly looking at the lobby environment. Hadn't come for 3 years. The decoration unchanged, still that cold luxurious feel. The elevator dinged. A group walked out. The man in the center, tall and long-legged, with a compelling aura. It was Ethan. He was tilting his head talking to the assistant, brows slightly furrowed. I subconsciously turned my back, not wanting him to see me. Footsteps approached. His voice low and clear, tell Berlin's side, price is not an issue, but technology must be the latest. But CEO Ethan, the other side is biting hard, saying core technology not transferable. Then raise the price. Triple. They passed behind me, bringing a slight breeze. I sighed in relief. Miss Vivian? The front desk called. Martin's secretary came down to pick you up, that elevator. I followed the secretary into another executive elevator. The secretary swiped the card, pressed 36th floor. The elevator ascended slowly. Are you new? Haven't seen you before. The secretary sized me up. Delivering files. Oh. She lost interest, lowered head to phone. 36th floor arrived. I handed the files to Martin's assistant, task completed. While waiting for the elevator down, noise came from the other end of the corridor. What's going on? How could the system suddenly crash? Must come up with a solution today. A slightly anxious male voice. Martin, engineers are still checking, might be underlying architecture issue. Might? I want definite answers. CEO Ethan wants the report this afternoon. If messed up, we'll all get fired. I glanced. Project Director Martin was yelling at several technicians, sweat on his forehead. Elevator came. I walked in. As the door slowly closed, I heard Martin's almost collapsing voice, done. This time really done. Elevator descending. I took out my phone, sent a message. Check Lou Group's Deep Blue project current technical bottlenecks. Give me summary in 10 minutes. 8 minutes later, data came. I quickly browsed. Basic architecture design flaw. Inevitably crashes when data load is too large. Stupidly so. Phone vibrated again. It was Ethan's special assistant Jason. Met a few times 3 years ago, smart guy. Miss Vivian? Sorry to disturb. CEO Ethan asked me to contact you about a possible dispute in one property item in the divorce agreement. Need you to come confirm in person. Convenient to come to the group now? I raised an eyebrow. Property dispute? Leaving with nothing, where's the dispute? The drunkard's intention is not in the wine. Seems that Martin went to him for help. Pretty fast. Not convenient. I replied. The other side paused a few seconds. Miss Vivian, CEO Ethan said, if you're willing to come, perhaps can discuss, about the Deep Blue project issues. Consulting fee by highest standard. I smiled. Just as expected. Fine. 1 hour later. Downstairs cafe. CEO Ethan hopes in the CEO office. Cafe. Otherwise no talk. I hung up decisively. 1 hour later, I sat in the corner of the Starbucks next to Lou Building. A latte in front. When Ethan came in, he attracted many gazes. People like him naturally don't fit in such commoner places. He sat opposite me. Face not looking good. Probably hadn't been made to wait for a long time. How do you know about Deep Blue project? He got straight to the point, gazed sharply appraising me. I stirred the coffee. Guessed. Vivian. His tone sank, don't play tricks. Martin said you went to 36th floor just now. I went to deliver files. Heard Martin yelling. Combined with Lou's recent public investment moves, guessed you might have trouble on Deep Blue project. Not hard to guess. He stared at me, seeming to find flaws on my face. But there was nothing on my face. Can you solve it? He asked, with undisguised doubt. Perhaps. Tell me the situation. He concisely described the problem. Similar to what I saw in the data. Underlying architecture issue. After listening, I directly concluded. To solve thoroughly, must tear down and rebuild. Or, apply a patch. Treat symptoms not root. His body slightly leaned forward. Can you apply that patch? Yes. Conditions? Consulting fee. 100,000 per hour. Prepay 400,000. No guarantee of results. Money not refunded regardless of success. He scoffed. Vivian, are you crazy poor? 100,000 an hour? CEO Ethan can find others. I picked up my bag, pretending to leave. Sit down. He suppressed anger. Why should I believe you? Someone who didn't even finish university. When I married, the data said high school graduate. He didn't check deeply. Probably thought unnecessary. Gamble. I looked into his eyes. Or, wait for the project to rot. Heard you staked a lot of fortune in it? His face changed. Fingers tapped on the table. Finally, he took out the checkbook, signed a 400,000 check, pushed to me. Timing starts now. You better have a way. I put away the check. Give me a computer that can access your internal system. Highest permissions. 20 minutes later, in the CEO office. I sat at the computer, fingers rapidly typing on the keyboard. Strings of code scrolled fast on the screen. Ethan stood behind me, gaze fixed on the screen. Jason and Martin were aside, not daring to breathe. Only crisp keyboard clicks in the office. After about 15 minutes. I hit the last enter key. Done. Temporary patch applied. Can hold for 3 months. After 3 months, will crash again. To solve thoroughly, must redo architecture. Martin immediately pounced to check the computer, eyes widening. Oh my, really recovered. Data flow normal. Error alerts gone. He turned back sharply to look at me, like seeing a monster. Miss Vivian. How did you do it? Our engineering team couldn't for a week. I stood up. Problem solved. CEO Ethan, overfulfilled task. Remaining time, consider gifted. I picked up bag, prepared to leave. Wait. Ethan stopped me, eyes extremely complex. Where did you learn these? Self-taught online. I perfunctorily. Which site? I'll go learn too. His tone mocking. I met his gaze. CEO Ethan, problem solved, I took the money. As for others, not in our transaction scope. He silently looked at me, like truly knowing me for the first time. In the past 3 years, in his eyes I was probably a quiet, boring, insignificant nominal wife. Now, this impression was obviously broken. I'll send you. He said. No need. I'll taxi. I insist. In the car, atmosphere oppressive. Ethan driving, side profile lines tense. How many things about you I don't know? He finally spoke. Many. I looked out the window. Why didn't say? You didn't ask. He choked. At red light, he turned to look at me. Vivian, we were husband and wife after all. Contract husband and wife. I corrected. Now contract ended. Green light on. He slammed the accelerator. Car stopped at my rented community entrance. Very old community, hallway entrance pasted with various ads. He frowned. You live in this kind of place? Or what? I unbuckled seatbelt. Thanks CEO Ethan for sending me. Goodbye. I got off, walked into hallway without turning back. In the rear view, that black Bentley stopped long before leaving. Life returned to calm. Work, off work, occasionally handle some encrypted messages from Draco. Small company work trivial, but no pressure. Colleague Zoe still loved gossip. Shocking big news. That noon, she rushed over with phone. Ethan and Celia seem over. I typed on keyboard, didn't even lift eyelids. Oh? Really? Someone photographed Celia running out from Lou Group alone last night crying. Eyes swollen. Heard she had a big fight with Ethan. She showed me the photo. A bit blurry, but could see Celia's low mood. Maybe just a fight. Definitely breakup. I said, this kind of tycoon playboy, where's the true heart? Dump when tired. Zoe sighed, but good too, Celia is at least an artist, why bother climbing tycoons? Phone vibrated. A new text. From unknown number. I'm Ethan. Meet tonight. Something to discuss. I deleted the text. Minutes later, phone rang. Still that number. I hung up. He called again. Very persistent. I walked to fire escape, picked up. Hello. Why delete my text? His voice sounded annoyed. Harassing texts, usually delete. Silence there for seconds, like suppressing anger. 7 p.m., Lancian restaurant. Seat booked. No time. Vivian. He gritted teeth, about deep blue project, still issues need your assistance. Contract has after-sales service clause. That's verbal agreement. No legal effect. He probably never been rebuffed like this, breathing heavier. Count as hiring you. Hourly rate same. Overtime tonight. Your crappy company, I'll call your boss for leave. Ethan. I called his full name. We're divorced. Don't disturb my life anymore. The other end completely quiet. Long time, he said, just this once. Project important. Please. He actually said please. Sun rising from west. Last time. I said. Good. 7, I'll pick you. No need. I'll go myself. Lancian is a high-end Chinese restaurant. Good privacy. When I arrived, Ethan was already there. Sitting in the private room, a cup of tea in front. He looked a bit tired. Faint dark circles under eyes. Order dishes. He pushed the menu. No need. Discuss then leave. I sat opposite. What's wrong with the project again? Eat first. I'm not hungry. He stared at me, suddenly asked, "You used to wait for me to eat?" Before. Yes. Before I made dinner every day, waited for him back. Even if 9 out of 10 times he didn't come eat. Before was work. I said. Now off work. He was blocked by my words, face not good. Vivian, no need like this. Even divorced, no need like enemies. We're not enemies. I calmly said. Just strangers. Waiter started serving dishes. All signature dishes here. One crab tofu, what I used to like making. He actually remembered. Eat some. His tone softened. I haven't had dinner yet. I served myself a bowl of soup, slowly drank. He ate a few bites, put down chopsticks. Project architecture redo, how long? He asked. Depends on team level. Fast 2 months, slow half year. You do it. How many people, resources, name your price. No time. Vivian. CEO Ethan, I'm just an amateur hobbyist. Your engineering team is professional. If they were professional, wouldn't make this mess. His temper rose again. Name a price. How much to take over? Not money issue. Then what? I put down soup spoon. I don't want any entanglement with you. Is this reason enough? He leaned back, sized me up. Gaze with scrutiny. You're very different from before. People change. Because of divorce? He suddenly asked. Resent me? I almost laughed. CEO Ethan, you think too highly of yourself. His face sank. Atmosphere in room stalemate. At this time, his phone rang. He glanced, directly hung up. Soon rang again. He irritably picked up. I said I'm busy, what? Serious? I'll come right away. He hung up, grabbed coat. Hospital call. Celia injured in rehearsal, I have to go now. Go. I picked up bag. I should leave too. He looked at me, seemed to want to say something. Finally just said, project matter, discuss next time. No next time. He ignored, quickly walked out. I paid the bill, walked out restaurant. Night wind a bit cool. Phone lit up. It was Draco. G Country team agrees to your requirements. Abyss project leadership to you. They request start soon. I replied, next Monday. I'll go. Received. Arrange itinerary for you. Put away phone, I gently exhaled. Time to return to my world. Next day, I went to company to resign. Boss very surprised. Doing well, why suddenly leave? Work too tiring? Salary we can discuss. No. Personal reasons. I handed resignation letter. Thanks for your care. Zoe reluctant. Sister Vivian, found next job? Much better than here? A long trip. Great, keep in touch. After procedures, I returned to small apartment, started packing luggage. Doorbell rang. Through peephole, it was Ethan. How did he come? I didn't open. He pressed again. Over and over. I had to open. Something? He held an insulated bucket, looked a bit disheveled. Suit wrinkled, tie loose. Celia fractured, hospitalized. Noisy all night. He rubbed forehead, handed the bucket. She doesn't like hospital food, clamoring for sampan congee from that East City congee shop. I passed by, bought an extra for you. I glanced at the bucket. Thanks. I don't need. Take it. He forced it into my hand. You used to, often send me food too. Is that the same? Holding the bucket, felt a bit hot. Project matter, house consideration? He asked, tone softened. Conditions up to you. Or, Come work at Lou, position your pick. Not interested. Vivian. His patience exhausted, what do you want? Money? Position? Or else? I looked at him. I want you to stay away from me. His face instantly extremely ugly. At this time, my phone rang. International long distance. I walked aside to pick up. It's me. I saw the plan, third-part data needs recalibration, yes, error rate must control below 0.01%. I'll arrive next Monday, okay, talk in person. While calling, Ethan kept staring at me. Gaze with inquiry and doubt. I hung up. Whose call? He asked. Client. You have international clients? He scoffed, Vivian, what are you doing? That crappy company needs you to travel? CEO Ethan, my matter's unrelated to you. I opened door, thanks for congee. Goodbye. He reached to block door. Where to travel? No comment. Vivian, don't make me angry. His tone cooled, I can check. Whatever. I stared at him, checked, then what? Ethan, divorced, we're clear. Don't entangle anymore, ugly. He seemed stung, sharply withdrew hand. You think I want to entangle you? He sneered, if not for Deep Blue Project. I'll help you last time on project. I interrupted. Give me paper pen. He stunned, took out pen and notepad from suit inner pocket. I quickly wrote an email address and a 6-digit code. Email to this address, input this code in body. Someone will take over project. Technology better than mine. He took the note, looked, brows locked. Who is this? A friend. Believe or not, up to you. I closed door. Outside quiet long. Then heard his leaving footsteps. I leaned on door, slowly exhaled. Finally ended. A week later, International Airport. I handled boarding procedures, walked to VIP lane. Miss Vivian? Someone called uncertainly behind. I turned. It was Ethan's special assistant, Mr. Lee. He looked at me surprised, confirmed my ticket and VIP lane. Miss Vivian, you are going abroad? Business trip. Business trip? He more puzzled, didn't you resign? Change job. To which company? He subconsciously asked, then realized impolite, sorry, I just. No problem. I smiled. To Berlin. Berlin? His face slightly changed. What a coincidence. CEO Ethan flies to Berlin today too. Negotiate a very important technology acquisition project. The other side hard to deal. He suddenly stopped, like thought of something, incredulously looked at me. I kept smiling. Broadcast sounded, urging boarding. I'll go first. I nodded farewell. Miss Vivian. He hurriedly called, you couldn't be. GW Companies never appeared chief technical advisor? GW, the German new energy technology company Ethan wanted to negotiate acquisition this time. Industry's hidden giant. Core technology leading global by 5 years. And their chief technical advisor, code Y, mysterious. Said to have bad temper, high vision, rarely personally take projects. But once acts, never fails. Ethan going this time, just trying luck. Not even appointment. I looked at him, smiled. You guess. Said, I turned into VIP lane. Left Jason alone, stunned standing there. After plane takeoff, I put on my mask, prepared to sleep. First class seat spacious. Next seat seeing someone came, quiet. Stewardess brought champagne and slippers. I smelled a familiar cold woody fragrance. Faint, but highly recognizable. Ethan? Can't be this coincidental? I pulled down my mask corner, side head looked. Man in next seat, wearing tailored black suit, side profile cold hard, lowering head looking at a file. Really him? How on this flight? Still first class adjacent seats? Jason didn't say he took this flight. He seemed to notice my gaze, turned head. Eyes met. His pupils suddenly contracted, full of shock. Vivian? He almost lost voice. Why are you here? I pulled down eye mask, sat straight. Business trip. CEO Ethan? I'm going to Berlin for project. He stared at me, gaze sharp as knife, scanned me up down, like assessing. You, going to Berlin for what? Meet a client. What client needs first class? His tone full doubt. Your small company takes international business? Small client. I perfunctorily. He obviously didn't believe. Body slightly leaned to me, lowered voice. Vivian, tell me honestly, what are you doing? Jason said you gave him an email. That email's registrant is GW Company. Oh. That. I picked up champagne sipped. My friend works at GW. Helped casually. What friend? He pursued, male or female? What position? Can mobilize Deep Blue Project's core tech support? Ordinary friend. Vivian. He lost patience, don't lie. Do you know GW's high level? That chief advisor why? Your Berlin trip, related to him? I put down glass, looked at him. Ethan, did you forget, we're divorced. My matters, no need to report to you. He choked. Face pale and white. Stewardess came to serve meal, temporarily interrupted talk. During meal, he kept looking with that scrutinizing, doubting, annoyed gaze. I couldn't be bothered, focused on eating. Plane hit turbulence, slight bump. My phone on tray slid. Screen lit. A new message preview popped. Sender, Draco. Content, Sister Y, G Country team in place. Berlin HQ meeting advanced to 3 p.m. today. Vehicle waiting at airport. Also, Lu Group CEO Mr. Ethan requests meeting with you again, reject? Screen soon dimmed. But I could feel, next Ethan, body instantly stiffened. He saw. Air dead silent. After a full minute, he slowly turned head, looked at me. Eyes with huge, almost indigestible shock. Why, is you? Voice dry. I picked up phone, unlocked, replied 2 words, reject. Then, I lifted head, met his incredulous gaze. Reintroduce. I said, tone calm. GW Chief Technical Advisor, Vivian. He opened mouth, couldn't say a word. Like struck by lightning. Impossible. He murmured, how can you be why, you clearly didn't graduate high school? Clearly a waitress? Clearly an ordinary housewife? I finished for him. His face pale. Ethan. I faintly spoke, you never truly understood me. Just like I didn't know, you'd be stupid to use obviously plagiarized tech plan and business proposal to fool GW. He sharply shook. How do you know? Your plan left in restaurant. I saw unintentionally. I tugged corner of mouth, full of loopholes. No wonder they ignore you. His face lost all color, like huge humiliation and shock. So, you've been watching me in front of you, like a fool? His voice trembled. More or less. I nodded. Watching you desperately want to see why, quite interesting. He closed eyes, leaned on seat. Like thoroughly crushed. Long after, he opened eyes, eye bottoms full of bloodshot. These 3 years, you've been lying to me? Mutual. I retorted, didn't you not tell me, marrying me not just to cope with father, but because my birth date could ward off the evil chi the master set around you? He suddenly stiffened. You, how do you know? Ethan, I know far more than you imagine. I approached him, lowered voice, only we 2 could hear. Including your Deep Blue project, initial tech concept, stolen from Celia's father. Right? His pupils sharply contracted, breathing suddenly rapid. Nonsense. Weather nonsense, you know. I retreated, expression cold. So, don't bother me again. We're clear. Said, I put on my mask, no longer looked at him. Remaining flight, next seat dead silent. Plane landed Berlin. I picked up luggage, first stood. Vivian. He called, voice hoarse. I stopped, didn't turn. Is there, even a bit? He asked difficultly, real? I silent few seconds. During contract, the meals I made were all real. Said, I walked off plane. Outside airport jetway, staff in GW uniform already waiting. Lady Y, car prepared. I nodded, followed them to exclusive lane. Behind, Ethan clustered by crowd, but seemed extra lonely. He gazed my direction, eyes complex like tangled mess. I didn't linger. Meeting smooth. G-Country team's tech difficulty, under my lead, soon found solution. Meeting lasted to 8 p.m. Walking out conference room, Jason waiting outside, face anxious. Advisor Vivian. He came up, sorry disturb. CEO Ethan he had some issue. I frowned. What issue? CEO Ethan afternoon negotiation with GW, not smooth. Other side directly rejected cooperation. CEO Ethan he drank a lot, now in bar, condition bad, he keeps calling your name. What's use finding me? I coldly said, you should contact Celia. Miss Celia she. Jason hard to say, she heard CEO Ethan project failed, may not inherit Lou Group, directly proposed breakup. Oh. Realistic woman. So? Advisor Vivian, please go see CEO Ethan. He doesn't listen to others. I fear he has accident. I wanted to refuse. But thinking those 3 years, though he cold, at least didn't short me materially. Husband-wife once, exhaust last bit of sentiment. Led way. In bar private room, alcohol stench overwhelming. Ethan slumped on sofa, tie pulled open, eyes unfocused. Ground with several empty bottles. Seeing me enter, he stunned, then shakily stood. Vivian. He silly smiled, am I dreaming again? He came over, wanted to touch my face. I avoided. Jason, call car for you. Back to hotel. Not back. He sharply waved hand, voice with cry, nothing left, project gone, company soon gone. Celia left too. I'm really a failure. He squatted, hugged head. Grandpa was right. I'm no good. I can't hold up Lou. I stood there, looked at him. The commanding Ethan CEO, now like a lost child. Why lie to me? He lifted head, eyes red, you clearly so capable, why pretend ordinary, watch my joke. I didn't pretend. I said, just you didn't care. He stunned. 3 years. You never asked my past, didn't care what I think, didn't notice what I like. I calmly stated, you needed, just a clean background, presentable, no trouble nominal wife. I happen to fit, that's all. He opened mouth, speechless. Ethan, you love only yourself. Break up with Celia and collapse? You're just unwilling. I pierced him, what you really care, is failure, losing control. His face ashen, like I hit his most unbearable thought. Get up. I commanded, don't like a waste. He dazedly looked at me. I took out phone, dialed a number. Deep Blue Project's original tech patent, under Celia's father Richard, right? Ethan sharply lifted head, eyes horrified. Call connected, I pressed speaker. Mr. Richard? I'm Vivian. About your daughter Celia and Mr. Ethan cooperating, stealing, and selling your patent tech, I want to talk. No. Ethan pounced to grab phone. I easily avoided, continued on phone, yes, I have evidence. Including fund transaction records and original emails of stealing tech. Of course, I can provide to you. Condition? Only one, Lou group must continue under Ethan's control. Ethan stiffened there, incredulously looked at me. Other end, Richard's silent moment, agreed. Hung up. I looked at Ethan. Patent issue solved. Celia won't bother you anymore. As for GW cooperation. I paused. Tomorrow 9 a.m., bring your redone, truly sincere plan, to HQ find me. This is your last chance. Said, I turned to leave. Why? He hoarsely asked, why help me? I stopped at door, didn't turn. Probably because, your grandpa before death, was nice to me. Door closed behind. Next morning 9. Ethan on time appeared in GW HQ conference room. Suit straight, hair combed neat, except bloodshot in eyes, almost no yesterday's dishevel. He handed new plan book. I flipped through. Much better than before. Meeting lasted 2 hours. Tech team raised many sharp questions, Ethan answered one by one, attitude humble practical. Finally, I closed plan. Can consider. I said, specific details, follow up by team. Ethan relieved, tense shoulders relaxed. After meeting, he stayed last. Thanks. He low voice. Business as usual. I organized files, your plan barely qualified. He hesitated, asked, tonight, can invite you dinner? As, apology and thanks. No need. Vivian. He called, I know I have no right now, but I regret. I lifted head looked at him. Regret treating you like that, regret not discovering earlier. He incoherent, if I can make up. Ethan. I interrupted, you think, with my identity, still need your makeups? He choked. Past matters, let them pass. I toned flat, you operate Lou well later. Don't do stupid things again. I picked up briefcase, walked to door. Vivian. He urgently asked, we, still possible? I stopped steps, turned to look at him. Under sunlight, his eyes had expectation, regret, and a trace of vulnerability. I once lost in those eyes for 3 years. Now, not anymore. The contract expired long ago. I said. Open door, outside is brand new world. And I never look back.